There is this very interesting idea in evolutionary psychology of essentially attempting to maximize parental investment. And one way that this can express itself is if you're a small child and you potentially might have to compete with a sibling for parental care and resources. The addition of a sibling would reduce your survival, your fitness, whatever. And so one way to prevent that from happening is to essentially kind of interfere with your parents' relationship. And that can be expressed as kind of quasi-romantic love for the opposite sex parent. So if you're a little boy and you're worried, like, oh my God, like my parents might have another kid and then I'll get less attention or less goodies for myself. So I'll kind of interrupt affection that is expressed between the two parents, or I'll say that I want to sleep in the bed tonight with mommy, or I'll do things to basically prevent my parents from having sex with each other.
Freud's idea of the Oedipus complex, that kids go through an infantile sexual development from the oral stage to the anal stage to the phallic stage and have an Oedipus complex and want to kill the father and have sex with the mother, and it's all focused on boys. It totally ignores girls. This whole thing was, like, for him, the defining feature of psychoanalysis. And if you did not agree with this entirely, you're out. And when you look at the people that he ruptured with, like if it's Alfred Adler or Jung or whatever, what really led to the rupture is they didn't entirely believe in exactly this thing. And now not that many people believe it. I think it's a really weird and not very clinically useful framework. But and that's one of his most famous crazy ideas that is, it doesn't have evidence to support it. I also have just never really found it clinically useful. I've never felt like that was going to really help a therapy case that I had. But he was really, really devoted to it. And I do think it's fair to criticize him for that.
I think that in some ways, the popular, and I've had this experience so many times where I hear an opinion about a person and it's kind of received opinion and everyone kind of quote knows this. And then when I go back to the original source, I discover that it's completely wrong or misinterpreted. So in one way that Freud is unfairly maligned is in one of his, I think it was in one of the introductory lectures, he acknowledges that genetics play a role in mental illness and how people turn out. But in the popular imagination of Freud, it's, oh, your parents are 100% responsible for everything that you do, everything you become, every attribute that you have and express. But no, Freud did acknowledge, like, there is a genetic component, but there's a limited amount that we can do about that. So we need to focus on what we can control or what we can explain and how we can help the patient. And that blew my mind because I, thought, oh, Freud was just this crazy guy who thought your mom is determines your entire future based on how she treats you. On the Oedipus complex point, I think like there is a way to not like the crazy version where the child literally wants to have sex with the mother, but or the father, I guess, in the case of the girl, but there is this very interesting idea in evolutionary psychology of essentially attempting to maximize parental investment. And one way that this can express itself is if you're a small child and you potentially might have to compete with a sibling for parental care and resources. The addition of a sibling would reduce your survival, your fitness, whatever. And so one way to prevent that from happening is to essentially kind of interfere with your parents' relationship. And that can be expressed as kind of quasi-romantic love for the opposite sex parent. So if you're a little boy and you're worried, like, oh my God, like my parents might have another kid and then I'll get less attention or less goodies for myself. So I'll kind of interrupt affection that is expressed between the two parents, or I'll say that I want to sleep in the bed tonight with mommy, or I'll do things to basically prevent my parents from having sex with each other. And of course, this is kind of an evolutionary approach
Great,
to this.
sophisticated child.
Yeah, but well, none of this is happening at a conscious level, right? Like they're behaving on impulse and instinct, and they could never verbally articulate this to you in the same way that in the Freudian model they wouldn't be able to articulate, oh, well, I want to kill my mom and have sex with or kill my dad and have sex with my mom or whatever. This is sort of happening at the level of the unconscious, but the evolutionary approach also happens in that way of they don't consciously say, I don't want a sibling, so I'm going to go mess with my parents a little bit. It's just they're acting in this way, and then the explanation for it is, it makes a certain amount of kind of no-making sense.
And the idea of rivalry and identification with the same-sex parent, and the way that people attach to the opposite sex parent, and sibling rivalry, and there are just a number of different things that have so much resonance to so many families and so many individuals. And so I definitely think the themes of sex and aggression that are kind of present beneath the surface in kids, and I think there's a lot of stuff in the model that actually does fit a lot of the time and does have insights. I think, I wouldn't, but the thing that he broke with Alfred Adler about, for example, was like, Freud was like, you have a fear that to punish you for wanting the mother, your father will castrate you. And Alfred Adler's like, no, the primary thing is that you're worried that your penis is small and you want to have a bigger penis, and the insecurity about your penis size is primary. And Freud says, no, the fear that your dad's going to castrate. So they've split over that. Was what?
I'd love to see those two on like a Sunday morning Hartz shop.
But there's
yeah,
so much like weird stuff there, and it's like, but I totally agree, and I really want to look at like modern interpretations of the Oedipal story that I think are a lot more grounded and useful, and some of them are really, really fascinating.